Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to the Lost Files of Sherlock Holmes, the case of the Serrated Scalpel, where last time we scored a significant victory in this case by tracking down a gentleman called Blackwood, who appeared to be handling stolen property, which was the pendant that was missing from murder victim Anna Carroway's body. So, we are now off. Let's be off, Watson, while the scent is fresh. I'm no tracking hound, Holmes, but I know how to hunt. We're now off to Bow Street to go and have a chat with this gentleman and see what we can learn. Off to the clink. I am Sherlock Holmes, and this is my colleague, Dr. Watson. Oh yeah? Pleased I am to make your acquaintance, your worship. You'll have to push off. Only official personnel is allowed down here. Inspector Lestrade has given us permission to speak with your prisoner. No offence, Your Honour, but I'll need more than your say-so and sharpish-like mind. Otherwise my superior will have my hide. It is urgent that I speak with Inspector Gregson immediately. And I off to Scotland Yard urgently. I've never seen Gregson in Bow Street for all the 17 years I've worked here. Alright, I guess we need to get some sort of official authorization from Lestrade. Holmes, if you can just resist bad-mouthing him. I tried to speak with one of the prisoners being held at Bow Street Police Court. And Hastings won't let you in. Say no more, Mr. Holmes. That one takes his duties a bit too serious, to my way of thinking. I believe he's police cosh on the Queen herself if she came in without a pass. Here you are, this should satisfy him. Thank you, Sergeant. One thing I do like about this game is that although there are opportunities to get stuck, there is a sense of constant forward momentum. Because there's always a choice of things that you can do at any given moment, there's pretty much always something you can try. Very good, Mr. Holmes. You and Dr. Watson may enter. George Blackwood, I presume? I have evidence that will put a rope around your neck before Christmas, Blackwood. Confess. Your reputation for subtlety is undeserved, Mr. Holmes. You can hardly threaten a man who is about to die. Never mind, the threat is bogus in any case. I've only been charged with stolen property. The stolen property charge is a temporary expedient, Mr. Blackwood. Soon you'll be indicted for murder in the first degree. Now here's a friendly word. Once the English judicial system traps a capital criminal in its capacious maw, it chews on him like a piece of tough mutton, and after it breaks him down, it unceremoniously spits him out like a repulsive piece of gristle. Would you not wish to spare yourself that aggravation? Mr. Blackwood, your situation is precarious, to put it mildly. Do you have anything to say to mitigate your crime? Anything that might save you from the hangman? Mr. Holmes, it was an accident, I swear. I didn't mean to kill that girl. I was hired to find a letter that she was supposed to be holding. What was in this letter? Haven't the foggiest. I never found it. I searched her digs in her dressing room and came up empty. So I held her up outside the theatre, figuring she had it on her. Blackwood, you murdered the woman. Why, if you merely wanted to rob her? I'm getting to that. She panicked, see, and I got overexcited. I sliced her to make her stop screaming. But it's my training, understand? I went for the carotid artery. She was dead in seconds. Then I tried to make it look like the Ripper done it. Cut her up and took her jewellery. So that the job wasn't a total loss. What a sordid story. A simple robbery turns into the heinous murder of a young woman. What could be worse? Since you asked, it turns out that Sarah Carroway was the wrong girl. She's a redhead, you see. I was supposed to be looking for her sister, Anna Carroway, who's a blonde. It's Anna who supposedly has the letter. How did you discover your error? Party that hired me. Oh, gent, very high tone, if you know what I mean. He became very agitated when I described Sarah. And after I told him she didn't have the letter and that she was deceased, he yelled, "Sarah!" says he. "You idiot! It's Miss Anna Carroway who has the letter." "I beg your pardon," says I, "but you never told me her Christian name. You just said her name is Carroway." The nerve of some people. I just left him standing there in St. James Park, fuming at the sky. Who is this gentleman? Said his name was Fitzroy, but I'm certain that's a lie. People lie to me when they need my services. It's a sad commentary on human nature, isn't it? Why did he hire you? I've got a tiny reputation among the upper classes. I don't hope any strong-arm stuff, a touch of blackmail, and the odd bit of dealing goods without the benefit of a sales receipt. But I never killed, until now. It was an accident, I swear. Swear no more, Mr. Blackwood. Let the facts tell the tale. It would seem, Mr. Blackwood, that you recovered the letter you were hired for after all. What do you mean by that, Mr. Holmes? Anna had given the letter to Sarah for safekeeping. It was hidden in the pendant you took from her the night you murdered her. Now, if you expect any leniency at all, you will reveal the whereabouts of your fence. Ironic, isn't it, Holmes? I do my job and get the rope for it. And it won't do me any good where I'm going. Talk to a party named Jameson. He has a pawn shop on the other side of the river. Perfect front for his line of work. He and I have had a few business dealings over the years. He's a clever brute and pretty well connected. Do you have anything more to tell us, Mr. Blackwood? I've coughed up everything I know. I hope you can save me from swinging. Truth to tell, Blackwood, I doubt it. But you knew that, didn't you? You may feel better with a clear conscience. I, unfortunately, do not. Because, I mean, when all is said and done, you murdered someone. So, basically, you're kind of fucked. There's the pawn shop. Oh, this is an interesting place, isn't it? A charming papier-mâché figure fitted with a painted china head. The doll wears the traditional cap of a Dutch dairymaid. It's the same thing. With its worn ebony tuning pegs and artificially aged walnut veneer, this instrument is masquerading as a handcrafted 18th century Italian violoncello. In point of fact, the instrument was produced in a Cheapside factory sometime in the last decade. This is the Thomas A. Edison model, popular in the previous decade. This machine plays only tinfoil records, which have recently been eclipsed by the Berliner grooved discs. This large snare drum purports to be a replica of the type used by John Philip Sousa's US Marine Band. A stunning green safety bicycle, manufactured at the James Starley Works in Coventry. Smartly equipped with the revolutionary Dunlop pneumatic tyres, it promises to make all other types of velocipedes obsolete. Velocipede is such a great word. The shop's glass-covered display counter holds coins, rings, pendants, bracelets, freestanding gems, and other easily concealable, portable items. I have good reason to believe that you have recently come into illegal possession of an oval-shaped ivory pendant on a heavy gold chain. You may have reason to believe, sir, but do you have evidence? I do indeed. George Blackwood himself gave me your name from his cosy cell in Bow Street. If you would believe the word of an incarcerated criminal, sir, you are a fool. Good day. Okay, let's try a different tack. I have good reason to believe... You have reason to believe, sir, but you have evidence. Indeed I do. I saw you at the Surrey commercial docks receiving the pendant from George Blackwood. I doubt that. If you have no business to conduct, don't let me detain you. I have good reason, blah, blah, blah. Yes, we've been through this. I do not believe that I would have much difficulty in convincing the police that you were an accessory after the fact to the murder of the young woman whose pendant you received. Murder? Now let's not be hasty. I recall the pendant. I didn't know it was stolen. I can't determine the true provenance of every item in the shop. I can't guarantee the legitimacy of every transaction. I'm a man of business. I rely on the good faith of my... Save it for Inspector Lestrade, Mr. Jameson. Where is the pendant? I sold it. Almost right after I got hold of it. To a private inquiry agent named Moorhead. He knows me. Knows I deal with a certain class of goods, if you take my meaning. He keeps an office in the city. You could find him there, I suppose. That's all I know of him. Has anybody else approached you about the pendant? I remind you to be frank with me. Now that you mention it, yes. Shortly after I sold the pendant to Moorhead, one of my regular clients came looking for a pendant. Though he used different means than you, he persuaded me to tell him to whom I had sold it. What is this so-called client's name? Hunt. Robert Hunt. What do you know about him? As little as possible, if you take my meaning. He's what's known in my business as rough trade. I would like to buy a few items and perhaps some information. All items are priced as marketed. The prices are negotiable. Information will certainly carry a slightly higher price tag unless you simply require directions. Do I have anything I can pawn? I suspect there's nothing we need to pawn off on him at the minute. Okay, well let's go see if we can find this client. There he is. A framed photo taken from the Aberdeen Illustrated Gazette. The picture shows a stern-faced provincial constable and carries the caption, "Officer Gardner foils burglary attempt." The man is of middle years and of otherwise undistinguished appearance. A conventional portrait of Queen Victoria, enthroned and costumed in her imperial regalia. Such a picture is often thought to lend an aura of solidity and respectability to an otherwise tawdry commercial enterprise. Cluttered with secretarial paraphernalia, the desk supports writing pads, sheets of paper, ink blotter, letter opener, paper clips, nail file, cheap novels, and a selection of teacups. Everything is piled precariously enough to court disaster. It invites the impression that very little work gets done here. The tube appears to penetrate the wall of the room behind the door. If it works properly, the tube serves as a convenient means of communication between offices and reduces the risk of strained vocal cords. Philo Remington's name is written across the top of this old typewriting machine. Presumably it was once a useful office tool, but now that many of its keys are broken and there is no ink ribbon in evidence, it is no more than a very heavy paperweight. Perhaps it possesses sentimental value. Oops. My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my colleague Dr. Watson. We wish to speak with one of the principals, preferably Mr. Moorhead. I'm Violet Granger, confidential assistant to the gentleman. Let me see if Mr. Moorhead is available. Mr. Moorhead, there's a Mr. Sherlock Holmes here to see you. Mr. Moorhead, hello? He must have stepped out while I was on my tea break. Ah yes, here is the note. Back in an hour or two, HM. You can leave your card if you like. Might we speak to Mr. Gardner then? No, Mr. Gardner hasn't been in today, which is most aggravating if you'd like to know. Why are you perturbed with Mr. Gardner, if I may ask? Because I'm bursting with curiosity, that's why. A client, who must remain nameless, you understand, summoned him to a midnight rendezvous at the zoo in Regent's Park. I saw the telegram. There was some nonsense about bringing her jewellery, but I know what she was about, and so did Mr. Gardner. He left here with a smile on his face. Mr. Moorhead and I had quite a laugh about it. Mr. Gardner's a bachelor, you know. He has... was that client Miss Anna Carroway? However, did you know that? Miss Granger, we are assisting the police in an investigation of a criminal matter. May we examine Mr. Moorhead's office? Certainly not. Even if I could give you my permission, you couldn't get in. Mr. Moorhead always locks the door when he leaves, and he said you couldn't break into that office with an hammer. Is that right? Because it just so happens. It just so happens that I have a hammer. Oh, I can't do that. That's a shame. That is a terrible shame. It's securely locked. Of course it is. She just said it is. So why wouldn't it be? Alright. Can we go to Regent's Park? Where is Regent's Park? I don't actually know where Regent's Park is in London. We can! It's the big park. Constable Dugan. Good morning, Constable. I never know one of Inspector Gregson's men to draw zoo duty. Ah, it's you, Mr. Holmes. It's been a spot of trouble here, but we have it well in hand. We're limiting access to the zoo till we complete our investigation. What has happened? Well, confidential, like, a man has been killed under mysterious circumstances, if you take my meaning. Indeed I do. Perhaps Inspector Gregson could use some assistance. I'm sure he could, Mr. Holmes, though he's not likely to admit it. He's in a foul mood today, sir. Watch your step, won't you? You'll find him blustering beyond the elephant's cage. Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, go right in. To the main gates. The elephant is named Chloe. She is 32 years old and has resided in the Regent's Park Zoo since she was an adolescent. To the zoo administrative offices. Ah, Mr. Holmes, come to put your tuppence in, have you? Very public-spirited, I'm sure. You might as well have a look at this then. I know you won't leave until you do. The body of a middle-aged man lies in the characteristic pose of death. The head is turned to the side, and one knee is slightly drawn up. His black hair is matted by dried blood where his skull has been severely crushed. His clothes are very dirty, though they are of decent quality. The left trouser leg is ripped and frayed, exposing some deep lacerations and punctures. Oddly, there is very little blood surrounding any of the victim's wounds. Though his head is now misshapen, Detective Frederick Gardner is clearly recognisable from his photograph at the Moorhead and Gardner Agency. There are several wounds slashed across the lapels of his jacket. A good deal of tearing is evident. These tears appear in a pattern reminiscent of large claw marks. The leg seems to have been broken by a fall rather than by any human assault. Good morning, Inspector. What do we have here? Deceased John Doe. Stiff as the proverbial upper lip. dead 8 hours at least from a crushing blow to the head. His pockets have been emptied. Robbery, I imagine. What can you tell me about how he was killed? I'm sure you'll have opinions of your own about that. You usually do. Where was he killed, Inspector, and why have you moved the body? Ah, Mr. Holmes, you always proceed immediately to the crux of the matter. I just told the lads that this body's been moved, but how did you know? Given his head wound, there ought to be more blood on the ground where he fell. What? Yes, exactly my thought. He was certainly not done in here, then. Correct. It was somewhere damp and dirty, and he was moved by a small person. Oh, yeah? Next you'll be telling me what he had for his last tea. Given time, perhaps. I can tell you now that he was an inquiry agent by profession, a dark-eyed, left-handed bachelor, an ex-policeman, and a very foolish fellow. He was murdered by a hired killer. Mr. Holmes, you exhaust my goodwill and try my patience when you talk like that. You surely do. Do I look like an idiot? You don't know all those things. You can't. You're just trying to show me up. Perhaps you'd better move along. Remember, interference in police matters is a criminal offence. You lately said that you never received interest in cases, Gregson. I'm sure even you can see that such a remark was at best premature. Too much pride is not a good thing, Inspector. Good day. Constable, have you noticed anything that might help Inspector Gregson see this case more clearly? I'd see nothing interesting except that elephant when I come in here. Somehow that response does not surprise me. This highly polished brass sign reads London Zoological Gardens, Peter Hollingston, head keeper. What can I do for you, gentlemen? The open drawer here contains the files from M to O. They've been shuffled through recently. The beast who supplied this skin must have been one of the largest and most beautiful specimens ever to prowl the jungles of Bengal. This stuffed snow-white wandering albatross had a wingspan of over 8 feet. This expensive pair of powerful magnifying binoculars is of the type favoured by ardent birdwatchers, ship captains, and spies. The Swiss, so proper and exacting in the manufacture of precision timepieces, built some uncommonly unattractive cuckoo clocks. This is one of them. Mr. Hollingston, I am Sherlock Holmes and this is my colleague Dr. Watson. Could you tell us please who found the body? I almost tripped over it when I came to work this morning. Talk about starting the day on the wrong foot. When are the animal cages cleaned out? About 6 p.m, when the animals are being fed. Why do you ask? Could anyone on your staff have seen the murdered man? As I told the inspector, everyone except Simon Kingsley leaves the premises at 7 p.m. Simon doesn't have much to do with people, but has an unusual rapport with all the animals. Felix the lion is a special friend. Passing strange if you ask me, but there it is, to each his own. Since Simon didn't sound the alarm, I assume he saw nothing. May we have Mr. Kingsley's address? There are 1 or 2 points I'd like him to clear up for me. Of course. He lives alone in a flat in St. John's Wood. The address is 241 Grove End Road, just opposite Lord's. I should say that Inspector Gregson seemed quite uninterested in Simon. Somehow that doesn't surprise me. Is there anything else you can tell us concerning this regrettable incident, Mr. Hollingston? No, I'm afraid you've exhausted my meagre store of information. Alright, are there any other places we can go around here? That just takes us to the admin offices. To the lion's cage. We can go this way. I think a lion killed the body. And indeed, there's something down there. Felix, the famous lion of Regent's Park. Captured as an infant in British East Africa, he has lived his entire adult life in London. His prolific offspring populate the zoos of Western Europe and the United States. A small shiny object reflects the morning sunlight. It appears to be partially covered with mud. It is not possible from this distance to identify the object or to even speculate about its actual size. I suspect we probably can't reach that with the pokey thing, but it's always worth a try. Nope. The lion enjoys a small variety of terrain in his captive world. Since the heavy clay in the pit of the cage shows no footprints, food or body waste, either he never ventures down there, or the area has very recently been cleaned and raked. The water in the pit is collected rainwater. It's murky and odd bits of debris float on it. I suspect we need to secure the cooperation of this Simon gentleman. To get into the lion's den, as it were. Hello, gentlemen. What may I do for you? We would like to ask you a few questions regarding a murder that happened at the zoo last night while you were on duty. Please come in and make yourselves comfortable. The zookeeper is a short, slight young man of ordinary appearance. His expressive brown eyes move constantly around the room, rarely resting for more than a second on any object. It is not clear if his apparent nervousness is occasional or characteristic. We're sorry to disturb you, Mr. Kingsley. A man was savagely murdered at the zoo last night. Did you observe anything unusual during your tour of the grounds? A murder during my watch? You don't say. A man named Gardner was found outside the managing director's office, but he was not killed there. Where then? We were hoping you could tell us. No, I'm sorry, I don't know anything about it. You have a reputation for knowing a lot about animals. Could any of them have been responsible for Mr. Gardner's death? Never. Unless they were provoked. No, never. Well, this isn't very productive. A remarkably tidy and pleasant room, wouldn't you say, Doctor? I would indeed, Holmes. You might serve as an inspiration to a less fastidious lodger of my acquaintance. An outstanding private collection of reference works and monographs on natural history and zoology. There are no novels, no magazines, no non-fiction works with human subjects. A photograph of Felix, the famous lion of Regent's Park Zoological Gardens. The photograph has been professionally tinted to replicate the beast's natural colouring. The artist possessed less than modest skills. A well-worn pair of Marks & Spencer brogans, size 9. The edge of the soles and part of the uppers are encrusted with mud. Several coarse reddish-brown hairs are stuck in the mud. You care for several species of animals, Mr. Kingsley. Surely you have a favourite. It's no secret that I have a special relation with Felix. That's no crime. And you'd try to protect him if you thought he was in trouble. I would try. When did you last clean Felix's cage? Last night, about 6 o'clock or 6:30. What if I were to tell you that I have seen enough to assure me that Felix was not responsible for Gardner's death? He wasn't? I mean, of course he wasn't. Let us be frank, Mr. Kingsley. You moved Gardner's body from Felix's cage, did you not? What happened? I assure you I bear you no ill will, nor Felix either, for that matter. We can keep your story just between us. Please remember that another person's safety may depend on your veracity. I thought I'd been very clever. Now I know better. Here's what happened. I swear. I heard Felix making a commotion about 10 o'clock, and I went to calm him. I found him gnawing a dead man's leg. This Gardner fellow had fallen or jumped into his cage, and Felix had killed him. Lions are very territorial, you know. I dragged the corpse out of the pit and put him outside the MD's office. I just couldn't carry him any further. Then I cleaned Felix's pit the best I could in the dark. I didn't want Felix to be put down for something that really wasn't his fault. Gardner was either drunk or he committed suicide. Actually, he was neither, Mr. Kingsley. He was, as I said, murdered, and his murderer wanted to make it look like Felix was the perpetrator. Oh, insidious. People really are disgusting. Is there anything else you can tell us, Simon? No, I think I've told it all. I'm so happy Felix won't be blamed. Simon, I need to examine something in Felix's cage. Would it be possible for you to occupy Felix so that I may go down into the pit? Of course, if you think it's important. It may be a matter of a young woman's life or death. I'll get dressed and meet you at Felix's cage. Fine, we'll return there immediately. Thank you. Back to the zoo. Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, go right in. Simon holds Felix, who appears calm and does not strain against the confinement. It is obvious that Kingsley has spent much time with the lion. What's this then? A closed pocket watch. A gold-plated watch attached to a fine gold chain. The latch is encrusted with mud, and there is a small dent in the bottom edge. Otherwise it is in good condition. Opening the watch reveals an inscription. A piece of paper is attached to the inside of the lid, just below the inscription. You remove the piece of paper for closer examination. A piece of paper with the numbers 11, 17, 86 neatly printed in a bold, masculine hand. The watch is well maintained and is keeping perfect time. The inner lid bears the inscription F. Gardner, 25 years of loyal service. Let's just have another look here. Because we have some bad news to deliver after all. It is imperative that we see Mr. Moorhead, Miss Granger. I'm sorry, you just missed him, Mr. Holmes. He was very upset when he left. Do you know where he's gone? No, a boy delivered a message which Mr. Moorhead read privately. Then he asked me to shut the office door on my way out, which usually means he's opening the safe. A minute later, he left without saying a word. Do you have a key for the office door? No, Mr. Moorhead and Mr. Gardner have the only keys as far as I know. Perhaps we could get it from Gardner's body at the zoo. Inspector Gregson must still be there. Watson! I'm sorry to inform you like this, Miss Granger. Mr. Gardner was found dead at the zoo. In any case, Watson, there were no personal effects found with the body. Oh, that's dreadful. Who could have done such a thing? Now can we use the hammer? No. No. Okay. Alright, I think we'll pause there for now, because we have some more leads to follow up on in the next episode. But we've made some good progress today as well. I have no idea how far off the end we are, because as you can see, this game sort of continually unravels mysteries and reveals new ones as you progress through. So it all starts with the murder of Sarah Carroway, but then Anna Carroway's missing, and now there's this other murder, and there's all sorts of other things going on. So, yeah, a bit more to do, I think. But we will pick that up in the next episode. So for now, it just remains for me to say, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.